I'm with Jen Harrington. Thank you for
Hi.
joining. You are a screenwriter, a director, a producer, an editor. You've directed two feature films, and you've sold two feature screenplays, and you teach how to write and sell screenplays on Substack. It's
Yes.
called Inspired. Uh, Thanks for coming. Uh, your topic today is micro-budget filmmaking.
Yay.
So I will start
It's
timer.
okay.
Uh, why did you choose this topic?
It is near and dear to my heart. I feel like, especially what's going on in the industry right now, which is all very bad. I think we're going to be into micro budget filmmaking more and more as people are going to have to take the matters of production into their own hands and distribution and all of that, which is what is kind of exciting about this non-D movement in that everybody's sort of consolidating resources and ideas. And I'm hoping that that really helps people skip a lot of the mistakes that are really easy to make when you're just trying to figure out how to make something on your own, because it's really hard. It's a lot different than just making short films in film school. There's a lot more to it. And it's really amazing to see everybody's, like I said, sort of pool all this knowledge, which I think is going to be so helpful for everyone moving forward.
I mean, you've done a lot of different uh, things in the film industry, from micro budget films, making your own, to like pretty selling like large scale feature scripts. Like, how do you like how different is the process for you? I guess at the very least from a writing perspective, when you're approaching
It's,
something micro budget.
yeah, it's hugely different.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, obviously, a lot of the same principles apply. But, when I normally teach writing, I am very much about encouraging people to just go where the story takes them and whatever they feel compelled to write, write. Don't worry about how big it is or how it'll be shot or anything like that. Just
Yeah.
tell the best story you can. That's always what I recommend, especially if you're going to try to sell your script. You just want the best script. It doesn't really, when you start trying to hinder your creative process, it's usually not great. But when it comes to micro budget filmmaking, obviously that is a crucial part of what goes in. And so, usually for that, I still don't like having people put constrictions on their creativity. So, what I usually suggest is it's on the idea. If you find yourself an idea that is contained, that is going to be shootable for you, that you know is going to be within your limitations, then when you go to write it, try not to think too much about, oh, where will I shoot this and how will I do this? And try to get your best version out and then be the little problem solver, going back and figuring it out. Because I still think, like, all in all, when we limitations are definitely good when
It
being
can-
creative and writing,
yeah.
but I think there's the limitations where you're coming pushing against something, and then there's the limitations where you're like swallowing your own ideas before you even let them out.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people suffer from that. So for me, I think like one of the biggest differences is like finding the right concept before I start and making sure that the concept itself in general is going to be doable, but then let myself play. I mean, if I want to put in an explosion, sure, maybe I'll put in an explosion. Later on, we can figure out how to do it. But don't limit yourself too much. It's finding that balance.
Yeah, that must be. I've written a lot of screenplays. I've never like tried to sell them because my style is just too. It was never even like a pursuit of mine. I knew if I was going to make a movie, I'd have to make it myself. So I've like just slowly learn to write for what I have,
Hmm.
for better or worse. It's like been a 2 decade long period of like, uh, and my point is, I think we're seeing a lot of people go through that because I think you're right. Like there is like limitations can be both good and bad depending
Right.
on like how they're applied. But I think perhaps a lot of people are like ready to use limitations in a positive way because we've just been in need of seeing that example.
Right. Yeah. Like like a good example I can think of from one of my own projects is like the first micro budget I did was literally just me. It's like I had one actress and then the entire crew was me. And it was the only locations that I could find and,
Is this
had access to.
housekeeping?
What's that?
It's called.
Yeah. Yeah. Please don't watch it. It's like I spent like $500 on it. But then got distribution through Lionsgate. The whole thing is totally bizarre.
You know,
But my point is like I knew I was going to do a micro budget. I knew I was going to shoot it myself. So the concept was like very focused on this one house and this woman in this one house. But in the story, I had backstory elements about a fire. And later on, when I went to go edit the thing, I realized I was like, oh, I mean, this is back before AI and all this stuff that changes everything. But like I was like, oh, you know what? I can get stock footage. It's not that expensive. And I can get really high quality 4K stock footage later. It's incredible of a house burning down. And when I want to do flashbacks to like this moment, and it added so much production value, for example. But
that's a
it's one of those things that like I feel like if I might have been too afraid to even include that in the
Yeah.
story.
That's a common like part of micro budget history. I think like I'm thinking of like Eraserhead and David Lynch like using I forget how where he found the audio for that, but I know the sound design was made like from like scraps in an editing room. But like just yeah, utilizing things that are available to you that you might not think to otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
And going for it and being like, you know, on the other feature I did, we actually had a budget. It was still very tiny, but we really tried for some like cool special effects and like visual effects and like it's it's you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, but at the same time you don't want to not bite off anything.
Yeah.
It's a very delicate balance.
So one question I had, so your second feature is called Shook and it
Hmm.
was released on Shudder.
Hmm.
As as far as I can tell, your writing that you've sold is like more comedy.
Yeah, like so the micro budgets I did were horror, but the two scripts I sold, first of all, are like ginormous budget films. They're like $100 billion budgets. And yeah, they're like sort of action comedies, sci-fi, very different,
So
very
but
different.
I think that like I guess the question is like is horror there's a lot of micro budget horror. Is it an easier genre to
Yes.
why?
But I will say also at the same time, because it's so hard to do these movies, if I could go back in time, I don't know if I would. I wish I'd done stuff that I was more passionate about. Like instead of doing what I thought was smarter, um, micro budget horror genre in general is a great way to break in because
Yeah.
people are not interested, well, not interested, but not nearly as interested in stars, in, known quantities. They take bigger risks on unknown filmmakers.
Yeah.
You can really get started in horror in a way that it's very difficult in just about any other genre. And so that was one of the primary reasons why I did those films. Um, Not that I don't like horror, but it's definitely not where my heart is anymore.
Yeah. I mean I think any filmmaker who goes through that debate of like, do I make my own film or write something that's willing to explore multiple genres? Like, has that, do I do a horror?
Yeah.
It's
And
a,
I talk about that a lot in my teaching too, is like it's something I feel like I learned a lot from, where I feel not, I certainly wouldn't say I wasted my time making those movies, but I do feel like, I mean, as you know, doing your own micro budget, it's like the amount of effort and like life force you put into these
yeah.
projects for them not to be coming from like an important place inside of you, it's grueling. I mean, it's hard enough, to get something made, but then to not be able to be like, oh, and that was like my, neither of those micro budgets I made, like, were something like this story that I was dying to tell, like it was far more calculated, which, I
Well,
don't know.
would you consider trying to do another one?
Yeah, I would, but if I did another one at this point, I would definitely not go that route. I would just like be like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on something like I want to do a story that I really care about.
Yeah.
Even if it's like silly comedy, I don't think I would do a straight up horror again because I just don't, I really liked horror when I was a kid. But I grew away from that like by my 20s. And so I feel like I've just been convinced, like I convinced myself I was still into it, but it's like not really. It's not my heart.
I had actually the opposite. I never really got into horror until I went to grad school. Um,
Ah,
and I went to grad school for English. There wasn't even like a film program there, but there was a professor who loved horror and taught like a horror film course. And it was like the first time I was like kind of snobby toward like
oh yeah.
I was into like a lot of like old classic films and foreign films growing
Mhm.
up, like French New Wave. And so I
Yeah.
kind of like dismissed horror. And in a way that I realized like in my late 20s, like how
Uh,
amazing the genre is just because I had a great professor. Like just and seeing like Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the first time, and like this is like an amazing piece of cinema that is
oh
micro
yeah.
budget and is horror. So it is like a
Yeah.
very big part of it's very baked into micro budget tradition. But I think maybe the hope right now that we're seeing with this sort of like potential revolution of micro budgets is that we're going to see more of these like passion based.
I hope so that it's like, like I said, I mean, look, there's lots of
Which
passionate horror
I should say, which
filmmakers.
might be hard. Yeah, I don't want
Yeah, like,
to.
and that which is great. And but yeah, like I'm hoping that maybe if enough people start breaking through with other genres, it will become it like horror has been the gateway for a really long time,
Yeah.
for a lot of filmmakers, and it would be great if that could open up to other genres. It's just like there's you know what it is though, is like there is no fan base like the horror fan base. They will watch anything that is horror. They will give anything a shot.
Well, I mean, it's also like Shudder. Like there is a dedicated streaming service just to the
Right.
genre. Like how does how much of that is distribution? Because there is no real great platform yet. I know there's a lot that are
Yeah.
trying right now, but that are
But
genre.
horror was a gateway well before Shudder, too, I will
Yes.
say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's like they buy physical media. They go to
Yeah.
conventions. There's just a level of involvement in the people who love horror that just like yeah, just isn't in the same doesn't have the same enthusiasm in other genres. Um, except maybe sci-fi, but sci-fi is really hard to do on a micro level. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Shudder is really interesting because it definitely, I think, surprised a lot of people with how successful it was. I don't know, behind the scenes how well it's doing, but who knows with any of these platforms.
This might be a bit of a hypothesis, but I think you and I both share an appreciation of uh, I guess I don't like using the word, but bad movies, like
I
good bad
love that
movies.
movie. Yes.
Yeah, you've written about that. It's something I love as well. Uh, I'm curious if like maybe like when a horror movie that doesn't always work has a really good chance, a much better chance than other genres at being good bad. And so
Hilarious.
like
Yes.
crowd can creep in. Um, yeah, I don't know. I wonder if that's like part of it. Is that
I don't know, but you know what's funny is like it's now that you mention it, when I was a kid and I got really into horror movies at a way too young age. And part of it is because my best friend's older sister worked at the video store and she just let us take whatever. So like we just made our way through the entire horror section. And one of the things, it was then as a kid that I found the humor
yeah.
in over seriousness of over, when it's, and there's something about horror movies have to go big to work. And when you miss the mark going big, it can be pretty amusing.
Even if you like hit like horror and this was a big realization for me that I didn't get to like my late 20s was that how close horror and comedy are. They're almost inseparable. Like
I had no idea it even was a comedy that's what's so funny is like my whole young filmmaker life, I thought I was this like dark, twisty, like horror, like person. And then when I finally gave myself permission to do like whatever I wanted, it ended up being all really funny. And I
yeah,
realized actually that it was the humor I found in those horror movies that I loved so much. And it's like that's why it's like Shaun of the Dead ended up like hitting so hard for me
yeah,
because and Cabin in the Woods, oh my God, I love that movie. And those movies are like my, beacons because like I realized I was like that's what I didn't realize that was the element of horror that I really was drawn to was that kind of over the top absurdness. Like I love it when like violence gets like just ridiculous, like
that's a really good observation. Is that maybe part of the reason that horror is more like um I guess there's more of a fervent fan base is absurdity. I think people like absurdity, and
hmm
I think filmmakers are scared to try
Yeah,
absurdity.
and when you think about it, it's like it makes me think of the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Where like Tarantino is so good at that, right? Where it's like his violence is operatic. He goes so above and enters this other world of humor. I mean, it becomes the grossest things
yeah,
become hilarious because they're so over the top.
yeah, yeah. I mean the absurdity, like I'm a huge fan of absurdity. I mean, but like I came at it from such a different angle. Um,
hmm
uh, but horror really, I mean, maybe like David Lynch is like a good example. That's like an contemporary American filmmaker who like does absurd films and but like kind of grazes toward horror. I
But
don't know.
there also is comedy. I mean, it's like Twin Peaks has some
Yeah,
hilarious stuff in it.
yeah. I guess I think what you're making me think is like how absurdity actually might be a key
hmm
defining characteristic of what is to come, and it might detach from horror a little bit.
Yeah, which is interesting. And it's like, I don't know what it is that is so satisfying about that absurdity to an audience, but it is very satisfying. I don't know if it's getting the ability to like laugh at ourselves or laugh at the the seriousness of a film. Like, anytime we're able to take things not so seriously,
Yeah. And you don't need a big budget for that. Um,
Right.
so it's like it can be done well at a micro level.
Right, right.
Um,
Which would be amazing to start seeing people. I mean, I grew up in a time where like micro budget was like Clerks, right?
yeah,
And like that's all just like people being funny, but in a way that is, I mean, it's just very 90s, but you know, it was a very different kind of sense of humor than what we're talking about. I feel like
yeah,
it's something about maybe also just like at this point we're constantly like we've all seen everything. Like that was like had a sense of like realism to it and like nihilism of like the cynicism of the 90s. And it's like now it's almost more like we've seen it all. Like, isn't it all just ridiculous? I don't know. There's something about it's a different kind of cynicism in a way.
yeah. Um, we hit our 20 minutes. It goes
Oh, okay.
it goes fast. But I feel like I hijacked this a little bit because like I really hadn't thought about what might be emerging characteristics of new micro budget films. And I think
Yeah.
uh
That was super interesting.
yeah, I think there's something really big there. Because I don't um maybe like a last wrap up is like I was well, I guess you kind of were debating between this and screenwriting, and I think screenwriting probably would have been like the easier topic for you, I think, just judging from what I've read of yours.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm curious if like, you chose micro budget filmmaking as a topic because of like just you're feeling something in the air right now.
Well, I think just for sure, just because I mean, I think that's ultimately what non-D this whole thing is going to be. I mean, obviously, I'm sure they want huge budgets, but most of them won't. Most of them will be self-funded or funded by their grandma.
Yeah.
And I already went through version, 1.0 of that. And it is different now in a lot of ways, but I don't know. I guess I feel like I have a lot of insight to share from those earlier experiences that I feel like a lot of people are going to start running into some of the same problems that I did, and it'd be great to help them not do that.
Well, this is a starting point. As someone whose grandma gave to my budget, I
That's
swear. Uh,
fantastic.
um, I think someone like you making a micro budget now, having, done two and learned like that, uh, that would show someone like me just starting, who do, you know, took me
I
20
mean,
years.
maybe it's funny. It's like I've gotten like I actually started the other reason why I initially said that instead of screenwriting is because I started as a director. I never wanted to be a writer. And I only wrote so that I had things to direct. And I was very much a filmmaker and very much that was my focus for a very long time, well up until probably the me selling my first script. And then once that happened, I shifted a lot to become more of like full-time screenwriter. This is what I do. And because no one in the world I'm in now gives a shit about me directing. They're like, please don't say you want to direct. Just like stay over there. And so I've really put it away.
Yeah, Hollywood is a very stay in your lane.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, we got enough people trying to direct. You just do what we've decided you're good at. And but it's funny because it's like I have this whole other part of my life that was totally dedicated to directing and filmmaking and
Well, this is such a big topic. It's hard to
I know, yeah.
to keep with the format. This has been really great, and that is, I think that's exciting to hear that you are selling like giant scripts, uh, and what you really want to do is direct, and maybe like now is the right time where you're gonna start to see these two
Maybe.
things merge together. But
I mean, it'd be cool if like it came back around. I don't know. I mean, it's hard because it's like in LA right now, it's a very dark place. And so the enthusiasm that I see on Film Stack and stuff is great, but it's like most of us around here like are feeling very I probably need to get another career.
Yeah. I felt that 20 years ago, so
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
um
But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll come back around to micro budget.
yeah, I think
It's so hard.
this is like this a central topic right now to the whole reason I'm doing this series. So thanks.
Yeah. Well,
This
yeah, and good luck with your film. I wanted to ask you more about it, but we didn't. But like, is it what kind of vibe is it?
uh I will it's a comedy.
Oh
I call
yeah.
it a tragic comedy.
Oh nice.
I
Okay.
want to hijack this time. Uh I will stop the episode, but I'll tell you about the film. You
Okay.
can read about on my Substack, The Big Break.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Yeah.